The Lord is saying your divine time for visitation has come. You see, God has not forgotten about you. He does not forget about his people. He is not aloof or indifferent to your suffering and to your needs. He knows it's been a long time of waiting. He knows it's been a long time of hoping only to see no change. And he knows your hope and faith has been waning as well, and that you've been holding on to whatever hope you have left. He knows you have fears that this year will end like all the other years, and that yet another year, another season will pass without you seeing your breakthrough or your turnaround. But he's saying now is your time. Now is the time for your transformation. Now is the time for your turnaround. Now is the time for favor. Your suddenly is here. And it won't be like other years full of hope and expectation only to end in disappointment. This is your divine time of visitation. Prayers will be answered and promises will be fulfilled, and you will not be disappointed. You only need to trust God to do the impossible. Even if all you're holding on to is a mustard seed of faith, it's enough for the Lord to work with. Just keep believing. And so this word comes from John 5, verses 1 through 10, in which Jesus heals a paralyzed man at the Pool of Bethesda. Verse 1 says, "After this there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool, and troubled the water. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying there, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? And the impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. And Jesus saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed, and walk. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day, it is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. So for 38 years, this man had been paralyzed. For 38 years, he waited at the Pool of Bethesda, hoping to be healed, only to be continually disappointed when someone else beat him to the pool. And no doubt his hope and his faith waned with each passing season and each passing year that things remained the same for him. But then came Jesus. And out of all the infirm lying around the pool, Jesus chose that particular man to heal. And why? It was simply his appointed time of visitation. His time to be encountered by the Lord, to have his desired turnaround, his time of transformation, restoration, and favor from God. And the Lord asks the paralyzed man plainly, Will you be made whole? In other words, do you want to be made well? And I believe it was a question Jesus used in order to resurrect the hope and faith in that man's heart. Because if you think about it, of course the answer had to have been yes. The man wouldn't have been at the Pool of Bethesda if he still didn't have some hope or faith in being healed. But maybe Jesus asked that question because although the man held on to some hope, maybe the man also believed that he was somehow not favored enough to get healing, or maybe he had an internal fear that things were always going to remain the same for him, and that the next season was going to be like all the other seasons he had experienced so far. Seasons of pain and disappointment and not attaining. And a lot of you have that same fear. But God is saying that he is coming through for you. Now is your time. And so we see the man's internal disposition, even in what he says next to Jesus. He explained to Jesus how it was impossible for him to be healed, because every time he tried, someone else beat him to it. In other words, the only path to healing that he knew of seemed to be off limits to him. But little did he know he was talking to the one that was capable of making the impossible possible. And he was talking to the healer of all healers. And he was about to get to behold the transformative power of God himself. And so despite the man's answer, despite his disposition, despite what he was going through, Jesus challenged him with simply believing him for the impossible. And God is doing the same thing for you. He's challenging you to simply believe him for the impossible. So Jesus told the paralyzed man to rise, take up his mat, and walk. And, in that moment, the man could have sat there. He could have stayed there. He could have, stayed there basically to identify with his, chose to identify with his disappointment and despair. But instead, he chose to believe Jesus to do the impossible. And so he got up and walked. And the result was an immediate and sudden change in his situation. 1 minute he was infirmed and lying there. The next he had a divine encounter with the Lord and was made whole. All 38 years of his disappointment and pain were over in one swift exchange with the Lord, in one encounter with God. And likewise, the Lord is saying your divine time for visitation has come. God is moving on your behalf now, and you will not be disappointed. It will not be a repeat of other seasons. It will not be a repeat of other years. Only trust God to do the impossible and keep believing.